Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for this Cricket South Africa Level 1 umpiring course hosted by Western Province Cricket Umpires Association. My name is Abdullah Steenkamp, and my co-presenter for this evening will be Tom Okarosi. And we have a special guest this evening. Our poster girl, Karen Klaaster, will also be joining us. The format of tonight's lecture will be as follows. We are covering all the modes of dismissals. They are from laws 32 until 40. I will be covering the first 5. Tom will then do the last 4 dismissals. And after we've covered law 40, our poster girl, Karen Klaaster, will then do a match preparation slideshow. And then after that, we will open the floor for Q&A. So I'm kicking off tonight with the first law, which is bold. The law tells us that striker is out bowled if wicket is put down by the ball. So importantly, striker is out bowled if his or her wicket is put down by the ball delivered by the bowler, not being a no ball. It can even touch the striker's bat or person, but as long as the ball puts the wicket down, the striker is out bowled. However, striker not to be out bowled if before striking the wicket, the ball has been in contact with any other player or umpire. Bowled to take precedence over any other dismissals. There are times where from a single delivery, a batter can be out on more than one mode of dismissal. So now bowled is always number 1. Let's say the batter is out bowled and out caught. Who is the boss? Who's number 1? Bowled will always be number 1. So in my example, where a striker is out bowled and caught, how will the striker be out? Because bowled is number 1. Striker will be out bowled, and that is how the dismissal will be recorded in the scorebook. Second mode of dismissal is caught. We're going to look at a few videos under this law. The first video is
fair catch. A catch shall be considered fair if the ball is held in a fielder's hand, hugged to the body of the catcher, or accidentally lodges in his or her clothing, helmet, or protective equipment. But of course, this being cricket, it isn't always that simple. If a fielder deliberately uses an item of clothing to try to catch the ball, it is not out, and 5 penalty runs are awarded to the batting side. However, the ball can be caught after it has deflected off the other batsman, an umpire, another fielder, including off a helmet being worn, or even if it lodges in a fielder's helmet. Perhaps the main criterion for a catch to be considered fair is that the ball must not touch the ground before being caught. Here, for example, the ball does not touch the ground even though the hand holding it does so in effecting the catch. This is a fair catch. And then there is the question of catches near the boundary. This is such an interesting subject that we've given it a film all of its own. To catch up on everything to do with catching, simply refer to Law 33 in the Blue Book.
So, how many runs to be scored if a batter is out caught? Law tells us that if a striker is dismissed caught, no runs to be scored from that delivery. But any runs for penalties awarded to either side, that shall stand. So just an example, the striker hits the ball high up in the air. They ran 2, or they completed 2 runs, and then the ball is caught. So how many runs? The law tells us no runs to be scored if a striker is dismissed, caught, except penalty runs. In the previous law, when we dealt with bowled, we said bowled will always be number 1. Who's number 2? Caught is number 2. So if a striker is not out bowled, then caught will always take precedence over any other dismissal. So in an example, let's say the batter is out caught and hit wicket. How will the mode of dismissal be recorded in the scorebook? It will be recorded as out caught because caught is number 2, with bowled being number 1. Let's look at a video that happened in the Ashes earlier this year. And after looking at the video, we have Mare Erasmus explaining to us all, because Mare was the TV umpire adjudicating this fair catch. Mare will then explain to us how he came to his decision. But let's look at the catch first.
Want your opinion on that catch now, Ricky? You've had ages to digest it as you've meandered across the outfield. What do you reckon?
And the last 10 minutes in the commentary box, we've been talking about it. I'm worried about the inconsistencies of all of this. I mean, I can sit back and argue that Steve Smith wasn't in control of his movements either in the first innings. His was deemed to have his fingers underneath the ball. Mitchell Starc took the catch, 3 or 4 feet from the ground. So at some stage his fingers were underneath the ball. I'm sure we'll get more. We'll talk about it forever. We'll get more clarification, I'm sure, overnight by the time we've spoken to the umpires. But, I mean, if you look at that, I know they're talking about the movement not being completed, but that's been held longer than any slips catch, any keeper's catch that's ever been taken in the history of the game. But they catch it and throw it up straight away, and sometimes you are still moving when you've done that. So I could argue that he's controlled that ball as long, if not longer, than most catches that are actually taken in the game.
I suppose, and I'd say to Strauss, I haven't been able to ask Murray Erasmus specifically about this, but if he's arguing that he's not in control of his movements, it's because he's using his the ball to steady himself a wee bit.
Yeah, I think that's what he'll come back to. But
the inconsistency.
Was Steve Smith doing the same? I mean, that's what I don't. And I think what you'll see with a lot of these is you'll see different umpires interpret that in a different way, I reckon.
Right. We'll have a look at the Steve Smith catch then, because you can go through what you mean about having his fingers on the ball and then his movements after.
Yeah, well, I spoke to you this night. He clearly catches that a long way above the ground. And what he said then, if you look at the way his fingers were underneath the ball, on the bottom side of the ball, the ball then, from what angles that I saw, the ball actually touched the ground, although his fingers were underneath it. As he came back up, the ball came out of his hand. So is he actually in control of the ball? I think Mitchell Starc was in control of the ball longer than what Steve Smith was with his.
The question I have, I mean, it's sloppy from Mitchell Starc, isn't it? I think the catch was good, but you don't let the ball just go along the ground like that. He could have easily sort of rolled his body over and made sure the ball did not touch the ground. So it was a 100%. Sloppy bit of fielding in the end.
Yeah, cannot argue with that at all.
Want your opinion on that catch now, Ricky? You've had ages to digest it as you've meandered across the outfield. What do you reckon?
So let's listen to Marie Erasmus' explanation of the Mitchell Starc catch on the boundary, as Marie was the TV umpire that adjudicated the catch.
Exactly what you saw in the third umpire's chair, and just interpret the law for us as you, with your thinking process around the catch.
Yeah, the law is specific in it says that the fielder has to have control of his body and movement. In that particular case, he was still moving and he put the ball on the ground. Now, if you take that example and say he was sliding towards the boundary, if he slid into the boundary, we would have deemed it either 4 or 6, depending on if the ball touched the ground before. So there's no difference, interpretation for the catch.
So the key thing is that he only then has control of his body when the movement has stopped, and by that stage the ball has clearly touched the ground.
Yes. It was actually quite simple because he actually put the ball on the ground quite early, and then eventually, when he came to stop, it was too late.
Next mode of dismissal is hit the ball twice. Let's look at a video that will explain this mode of dismissal.
Hit the ball twice. Hit the ball twice and you're out. Unless, of course, you're defending your wicket or it was accidental, in which case you're still in. The striker is out hit the ball twice if, while the ball is in play, it strikes any part of his person or is struck by his bat and, before the ball has been touched by a fielder, he willfully strikes it again with his bat or person. The key word here is willfully. But if this had happened instead, the batsman would remain in. In other words, inadvertent double strikes don't count. The batsman is allowed to hit the ball a second time in order to guard his wicket. He can use his bat or almost any part of his body. He cannot, however, use a hand that's not holding the bat. The only time you can't use your bat to hit the ball twice to defend your wicket is when it would prevent a catch. The batsman can also hit the ball a second time in order to return it to a fielder, as long as a fielder has given him permission to do so. If you'd like to swat up on this a bit more, simply turn to Law 34 in the Blue Book, where you'll find all the nitty-gritty detail you need.
So we've just heard in the video that the striker can lawfully hit the ball a second or third or even fourth time. When is that? When the striker is protecting his or her wicket. So if the striker, let's say, blocks the ball and the ball now rolls back towards the stumps, the law allows for the striker to protect his or her wicket. So now, let's say the ball rolling back to the stumps, striker hits the ball away to protect his or her wicket. But now the striker hits it fairly hard and it hits it, let's say, to the square leg boundary, and they start running. What does the law say about can runs be permitted if a ball is legally or lawfully struck more than once? So in our example, because the striker hit the ball a second time to defend his or her wicket, that is allowed. But now the striker, in defending his or her wicket, hit it so hard, it went to the square leg boundary, and now they start running. Are those runs permitted? Law tells us that no, those runs are not permitted. Batters are not allowed to run if the striker lawfully hit the ball a second time only to protect his or her stumps. So now we know no runs are permitted. But now, let's say the strikers do run. So what you as umpires do? You first need to wait until they complete the first run, or if the ball goes over the boundary. Upon either the completion of the first run, or if the ball goes over the boundary, that's when the umpire needs to call and signal dead ball. The umpire first needs to wait until they complete a run to give the fielding side opportunity to try to run out either of the batters. So now we've heard that strikers are not allowed to run, or the batters are not allowed to run. So let's say they do take a run, and now they complete a single, and we've just saw now in the previous slide that upon completion of that single, umpire needs to call and signal dead ball. So what do you do afterwards? We now know that run shouldn't be allowed. Now the law says, after calling and signaling dead ball, you need to disallow all runs, whether it's the boundary, whether they ran 2. In our example, they only ran a single. So as soon as that single was completed, umpire had to call and signal dead ball. So you need to disallow all runs. You need to return the batters back to the original ends. So the striker, after completing the single, will now be at the non-striker's end. But because these are, you're not allowed to score any runs from a ball legally struck a second time, you need to send the striker back to his or her original end, and you need to ask the non-striker to come back to his or her original end. If there was a no ball, you signal it to the scorers, or any 5 penalty runs that may be applicable, except penalty runs and when the ball hit the helmet behind the keeper, the fielding side helmet behind the keeper. Law 35 covers hit wicket. So we're first going to cover when is the striker out hit wicket. We're then going to cover when is a striker not out hit wicket. And after we've covered both out and not out hit wicket, I'm then going to play you a video of a hit wicket incident that happened in a ODI. I then want you to look at that wicket. Imagine you are the TV umpire for that particular dismissal. It was sent upstairs. Using your knowledge that we're going to cover tonight, I want you to make a decision whether out or not out, and tell me why. Put it in the chat box. When we have our Q&A session, we will then discuss the video in detail. So, when is the striker out hit wicket? Law say striker is out hit wicket after the bowler has entered the delivery stride. So what I want to bring under your attention now is there is a window period that the striker to be given out hit wicket. That window period only starts as soon as the bowler has entered his or her delivery stride. So just keep in mind, when does that window period open? As soon as the bowler enters the delivery stride. When does the bowler enters the delivery stride? As soon as the back foot lands. That's when the bowler enters his or her delivery stride. So that's when the window period opens. So if it opens when the bowler enters his or her delivery stride, so what happens if the striker put the wicket down before the bowler enters his or her delivery stride? We'll get to that answer in the next slide. But for now, what I just want to bring under your attention, when does that window period open? And it opens once the bowler has entered his or her delivery stride, i.e. that back foot lands. So we'll get back to, in 2 slides time, when that window period closes. So now the bowler has entered his or her delivery stride, and now the striker's wicket is put down by either the striker's bat or person in any of the following circumstances. So the striker will be out wicket in after the bowler has entered his, or once the bowler has entered his or her delivery stride, any action that the striker took in preparing to receive the delivery. Examples of action that the striker might be taking, you'll find lots of batters have a back and across movement before the ball is delivered. That's an example of an action taken. So the striker, by moving back and across, tramp on the wicket after the bowler's entered his or her delivery stride, striker out hit wicket. Another example of an action taken, we'll often find batters lifting their bat just as the striker is about to deliver the ball. That's another example of an action. And let's say the striker then lifts his or her bat, and in lifting the bat up after the bowler's entered his or her delivery stride, the striker then knocks off a bail. Striker will be out hit wicket. Secondly, striker will be out hit wicket in setting off for the first run. And now the important word that I want to emphasize under point number 2 in setting off for that first run, it needs to be immediately after playing at the ball. So I want you just to visualize the striker, bowler bowls the ball, striker hits the ball into the covers and now set off for that first run. So what the law wants to happen is for the striker to be given out hit wicket in setting off for that first run, it needs to be immediately after playing at the ball. There shouldn't be a delay. As soon as there is a delay, the striker is not out hit wicket. I'll give you an example. The striker hits the ball into the covers and immediately set off for the run. The striker's back foot slips and then takes off the bails. The wicket is then down. As long as that first run is immediate, the striker will be given out hit wicket. An example of, let's say, it not being immediate, you can have the striker hitting the ball into the covers. But now the striker first want to check whether let's say the cover fielder will field the ball. Now the striker say, wait, and then the cover fielder then misses the ball. Now the striker set off for that first run, and let's say the back foot slips, and the striker takes off the bails. In this occasion, and we'll see when we get out to not out hit wicket, this is an example of the striker not being not out hit wicket, and the reason is it was not immediate. The crucial word is it needs to be immediately after playing at the ball. If there's any delay, the striker will be not out hit wicket. So if it is immediate, striker out hit wicket. Point number 3 is similar to point number 2. The only difference is in point number 2, the striker played at the ball and then set off immediately. In point number 3, the striker did not attempt to play at the ball. And let's say then it goes through the keeper's legs, and now the striker set off to take a bye. Point I want to bring under point number 3 is if the striker didn't attempt to play at the ball, and that setting off the first run also needs to be immediate. If there's any delay, if it's not immediate, striker will not be out hit wicket. In lawfully making a second or further stroke, if the striker wants to guard his or her wicket, striker will be out hit wicket. So if the striker plays the ball into the ground, the ball then slowly starts to roll towards the stumps. We saw in the previous law that the striker is allowed to guard his or her wicket. So now the striker tried to hit the ball away from the wicket, so as to not let the ball hit the wicket. And in trying to hit the ball now lawfully a second time to protect his or her wicket, the striker hits the stumps and the bails gets dislodged and the wicket is put down. In this instance, striker out hit wicket. Remember earlier I said to you, there's a window period for the striker to be given out hit wicket. That window period starts as soon as the bowler's back foot lands. So what happens if the striker puts the wicket down before the bowler enters his or her delivery stride? The law guides us here. The law tells us that either umpire to call and signal dead ball if the striker puts down the wicket before the bowler enters his or her delivery stride. So we've now covered when the striker will be out hit wicket. Point number 2 is when will the striker be not out hit wicket? Let's see. Point number 1. It occurs after the striker has completed any action in receiving the delivery. So here bullet point number 1 gives us the ending of that window period. Remember earlier I said when for a striker to be given out hit wicket, there's a window period. It starts, that window period opens as soon as the bowler enters his or her delivery stride, or i.e. as soon as that back foot lands. That window period closes after the striker has completed any action in receiving the delivery. As soon as the shot is done, soon as the striker's completed any action, whether it's the shot or anything, that is when that window period closes. Anything that happens after that is irrelevant. So just to emphasize again, window period opens when that back foot lands and closes as soon as the striker has completed any action in receiving the delivery. Also, striker not out hit wicket. If it occurs when the striker is in the act of running, other than setting off immediately for the first run. An example, let's say the striker hits the ball into the covers, set off for the first run, complete the first, they run a second, and now on the third run, the striker, in trying to make use of ground, dives towards the wicket, and now the bat touches the stumps at the bowler's end and dislodges the bails. Here the law tells us the striker will be not out hit wicket, because you can only be not out hit to a wicket if you set off immediately for that first run. If it happens in the second, third, fourth, fifth run, striker cannot be out hit wicket. Also, striker not out hit wicket if it occurs when the striker is trying to avoid being run out or stumped. If a striker is trying to avoid being run out, not out hit wicket. If a striker is trying to avoid being stumped, also not out hit wicket. Also, striker not out hit wicket if a striker is trying to avoid a throw at any time. Striker also not out hit wicket if the bowler, after entering the delivery stride, and that bowler does not deliver the ball. Even though the striker, let's say, tramp on his or her wicket, but the bowler, for whatever reason, decides to hang on to the ball and not to deliver the ball, striker will be not out hit wicket. And then lastly, if the delivery is a no ball, the striker will be not out hit wicket. So now we've covered when the striker will be out hit wicket and when the striker will be not out hit wicket. And we've covered when that window period is, when it starts and when it ends. So now I'm going to play you a video. I'm going to not play any sound because I don't want you to listen to what the commentators have to say about the dismissal. I'll play the video up until they show the replay. I'll then just quickly give you another look at the when the striker put the wicket down. I now want you to use your knowledge that we've just covered under point number 1 and point number 2 when we spoke about when the striker is not out hit wicket, when the striker is out wicket. I want you to apply your knowledge. When does that window period opens? When does it close? Apply your law knowledge now to this example, and in the chat box, just put down in the chat box out hit wicket, and you can maybe just give a 1 or 2 words or 3 words why, and we'll discuss it after the when we do our Q&A session. So I'm gonna put off the sound first, and then I'm gonna play the video. I'm just quickly going to rewind this important part. I'm not going to play the whole video again. I want you just to look at the striker and what the striker is doing, and I want you to apply the law. Just look at the striker, look at the shot. Okay, as TV umpire, make your decision by applying the law and put your answers in the chat box. The final law that I am covering for this evening is leg before wicket. Let's look at a video first.
Leg before wicket. LBW. LBW is a little like the offside rule in football. Many people claim to know it, but how many people really do? Our handy checklist means that whether you find yourself umpiring an international test match or the kids on the beach, your reputation for fairness will remain intact. There are 5 basic criteria to consider. The batsman is out, leg before wicket, if 1. The bowler bowls a ball that isn't a no ball, unlike this poor fellow. 2. The ball, if it is not intercepted on the full, pitches in line between wicket and wicket or on the offside of the batsman's wicket. It cannot be out if the ball pitches outside the line of the leg stump. 3, the ball hits the batsman either full pitch or after pitching and before he hits it with his bat. 4, this is where it gets a bit more complicated. If the batsman was making a genuine attempt to play the ball, the point of impact must be between wicket and wicket for LBW to be an option. However, if the batsman has made no genuine attempt to play the ball, the contact must either be between wicket and wicket or outside the line of the off stump. 5. This is the crucial part. But for the interception by the batsman, the ball would have gone on to hit the stumps and dislodge the bails. Any questions? Just refer to Law 36 in the Blue Book.
So let's go through again the points that you need to consider when judging an LBW decision. We're going to go through about 5 or 6 points that you do consider. When you're on the field of play and when you add bowlers in, these points actually go through your mind in a split second, but we'll go through the points one by one. Firstly, ball not to be a no ball. Secondly, so if not intercepted on the full, it needs to pitch either in line between wicket and wicket or on the offside on the wicket. So here the law is clear when it comes to pitching. It needs to either pitch between wicket and wicket or on the offside. That's why you always hear on TV when they say the ball pitch outside leg, batter can never be out. And this is the reason. The law is clear. If it must pitch on either the offside of the wicket or it needs to pitch between wicket and wicket. As soon as it pitches outside leg stump, the batter can never be out LBW. So we now know where it needs to pitch. Third bullet point. It should not have touched the bat first of the striker. Importantly here is, should not touch the bat first. If it touches the pad first and then the bat, then you can consider the LBW appeal. But if it touches the bat first of the striker can never be given out LBW or should not be given out LBW. Striker intercepts the ball with any part of his or her person. Yes, I know the law calls it LBW, leg before wicket, but the law tells us The interception can be with any part of the person, whether it's the leg, whether it's the arm, whether it's the stomach, any part of the person, you can consider the LBW decision. Next point, when covers the point of impact. The law wants the point of impact to be between wicket and wicket. The point of impact must always be between wicket and wicket if the batter plays a shot. But the law makes one exception. The law allows for the point of impact not to be between wicket and wicket if the striker made no genuine attempt to play at the ball. Now the law allows for the impact to be outside, on the offside of the wicket. But the important point I want you to remember here is the usually 99%, if a shot is played, that impact must be between wicket and wicket. The only time when you can consider if the impact is not between wicket and wicket is when the striker made no genuine attempt to play at the ball. We're going to go through a few pictures that will illustrate these bullet points. And then lastly and importantly, all these bullet points are important. You need to take all of them into account when considering an LBW decision. But the last one is a very important one. In your opinion, that ball must have gone on to hit the wicket. That's the last consideration that you need to make when adjudicating an LBW appeal. You need to ask yourself a question. Would the ball have gone on to hit the wicket? So after analyzing the first 5 bullet points, that final one, well, you need to ask yourself, would the ball have gone on to hit the wicket? If your answer to that question is yes, you give the striker out LBW. If the answer to the question is no, it would not have gone on to hit the wicket, you give the striker not out LBW. Let's go through a few pictures just to illustrate how the law works. This is a right-handed batter. Look at where the ball pitches. Where does this ball pitch? This ball pitches outside leg stump of this right-handed batter. And because the ball pitches outside leg stump of the right-handed batter, can never be out LBW. So if there's an appeal on this, you say not out, pitched outside leg. Look at this pick. So let's go through the points that you need to consider. And let's assume it is not a no ball, and let's assume there's been no contact with the bat. So the points that you need to consider: where did it pitch? Did it pitch between wicket and wicket or on the offside of the wicket? This pitched between wicket and wicket. Where was the impact? Was the impact between wicket and wicket? Yes, the impact was between wicket and wicket. And then the last question, would this have gone on to hit the stumps? If your answer to all these questions are in the affirmative, or especially that last one, it would have gone on to hit the wicket, give this batter out LBW. If your answer is no, I don't think it would have gone on to hit the wicket, you can give the batter not out LBW. First question, where did it pitch? Did it pitch between wicket and wicket or on the offside of the wicket? It pitched on the offside of the wicket. Where was the impact? Was the impact between wicket and wicket? In this instance, look at where the impact is. The impact is not between wicket and wicket. This impact, and let's assume this batter is playing a shot, so the impact is outside off stump or outside the line. And for that reason, the impact is outside off. That's why if there's an appeal, you will answer this appeal not out, and your reason will be impact is outside the line or impact is outside off. Let's go through our LBW points that we need to consider. Where did it pitch? Did it pitch between wicket and wicket or on the offside of the wicket? It pitched on the offside of the wicket, so we're happy where it pitched. Where was next one? Where's the impact? Was the impact between wicket and wicket? No, the impact was not between wicket and wicket. The impact was outside off stump. We just saw in the previous slide that we need the impact to be between wicket and wicket to consider an LBW decision. But remember, I spoke about that one exception. What is that exception? If the striker made no genuine attempt to play the ball with his or her bat. In this case, you can see the striker shouldering arms. So even though the impact is outside off stump or outside the line, because the striker is shouldering arms, you can consider this LBW appeal. But then there's this last point that you need to consider. You need to ask yourself the question, would this ball have gone on to hit the wicket? If your answer to that question is yes, it would have gone on to hit the wicket, you can give the striker out LBW. If your answer is, I don't think this ball is going on to hit the wicket, you then give the striker not out LBW. Again, you can now see LBW is an opinion law. I bet you'll find some of the candidates looking at this and will say, that's not out because I don't think that's gone on to, it's going on to hit the wicket. But I bet you there's quite a few that would say, I think this is out, or I would give this out because I think this is going on to hit the wicket. It is a opinion law. You need to make that judgment call after considering all the points. Again, we stick with our processes. Where did it pitch? Did it pitch on the offside or between wicket and wicket? This pitch between wicket and wicket. Where was the impact? Was the impact between wicket and wicket? Yes, the impact was between wicket and wicket. What is that last question that you need to ask yourself? Would this have gone on to hit the stumps? If your answer to the question is yes, give the striker out. If no, not out. That's your judgment call. Again, we go through our process. Where did it pitch? Did it pitch on the offside or between wicket and wicket? Yes, this ball pitched between wicket and wicket. Where's the impact? Was the impact between wicket and wicket? Yes, the impact was between wicket and wicket. And that last question that you need to ask yourself, would this have gone on to hit the stumps? Now you need to take all information into account. So for me, this looked like this is a left arm seam bowler bowling over the wicket. So now if you look at where the ball is pitching, if you look at where the ball is hitting the striker, look at the trajectory of the ball, look at where the striker's front pad is. We know that the popping crease is 1.22 meters from the stumps. So the striker having a small stride forward, so that is probably another 30 centimeters. So let's say the impact is 1.5 meters from the stump. So that ball still needs to travel 1.5 meters. So looking at where it pitched, looking at where it hit, looking at the trajectory, do you think this ball would have gone on to hit the wickets? No, I don't think so. I think this is missing off stump. Again, we ask ourselves, we go through our processes, we stick to our processes. Where did it pitch? Did it pitch between wicket and wicket or on the offside? It pitched on the offside. Was the impact between wicket and wicket? Yes, the impact was between wicket and wicket. What is that final question that you need to ask yourself? Would it have gone on to hit the stumps? So look at where it pitched, look at where the impact is, look at the trajectory of the ball. Again, look at the stride that the batter got in. Again, it's probably about 1.5 meters that the ball still needs to travel. Look at how much this ball came back, and it still needs to travel about 1.5 meters. So my last question that I ask myself, would this have gone on to hit the stumps? I don't think this would have gone on to hit the stumps. I think this is missing leg. That's my judgment call. Again, we go through our process. Where did it pitch? Pitch on the offside, so we're happy with where it pitched. Did it hit between wicket and wicket? Yes, it hit between wicket and wicket. Last question, would this have gone on to hit the stumps? Looking at where it hit, very high on the flap, I think this is too high. I think this is going over the stumps. I don't think this is going to hit the stumps. That is my judgment call. I think it's going over the top. So that is all modes of dismissal that I'm covering for this evening. I'm now handing over to Tom. Tom, over to you.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. Good evening to you and all the candidates, and a special good evening to Karen. I shall be taking you all through the last 4 modes of dismissal, after which I'm sure you're all excited and eager to listen to the timed out videos that we have for you regarding Angelo Matthews timed out in the World Cup. So let's go through them and then we shall move on to a match preparation presentation by Karen Cluster. I'm just going to share with sound because I've got a few videos for us this evening. So law 37 is obstructing the field. And once again, we've got a animation video to talk us through the law before we have a look at a video from an actual match.
Obstructing the field. A batsman is out obstructing the field if he or she willfully attempts to obstruct or distract the fielding side by word or action. Like this, for example. Thank you, Tommy. In particular, it is considered to be obstruction if, while the ball is in play and after the striker has played the ball, either batsman willfully strikes the ball with a hand not holding the bat or any other part of his or her person, or with the bat. The exception to this is when the batsman is attempting to defend his or her wicket. The batsman may do this with the bat or any part of his or her person, except with a hand not holding the bat. If the batsman uses such a hand, he or she will be out obstructing the field. The handled the ball law no longer exists, with such incidents now covered by obstructing the field instead. The obstruction has to be willful. Accidental obstruction, or obstruction caused by trying to avoid injury, does not count, and the decision on that is down to the umpire. It's worth noting that if a catch is obstructed, it is the striker who is out, even if it was the non-striker who caused the obstruction. Mind you, it's not always an easy decision. Here, the batsman deliberately crosses out of the legal running area in order to attempt to obstruct a throw. There is no other reason why the batsman should be running across the pitch. What looked an accident was, in fact, an illegal incident. To avoid any possible confusion, read Law 37 in black and white in the Blue Book.
I think we mentioned it yesterday that some modes of dismissal, it is good umpiring practice to confer with your partner before making the decision. Obstructing the field is in the jurisdiction of the bowler's end umpire to give out or not out. However, the different angle that the striker's end umpire has in terms of viewing the incident might help to make a more informed decision. Also, remember I mentioned that when the two umpires come together in the middle, it will then give them a chance to ask the fielding captain whether or not he wishes to continue with the appeal or perhaps withdraw the appeal. It also buys yourself time as a bowler's end umpire to think through what you have seen and decide whether the obstruction was willful or accidental. So take your time, come together with your partner, ask the fielding captain if they would like to withdraw their appeal or not, And if they don't want to withdraw the appeal, ask your partner what he or she saw, and then make your decision according to what we've learned of the law today. So let's have a look at a real life obstructing the field appeal.
Oh, danger, danger. Now then, what have they done here? Dead ball, called dead ball. They're fired up, South Africa. Now he's called dead ball to sort out the issue. Well, he's gone across to the other side of the pitch, and that'll be something umpires will take into consideration. He's on one side, gets over the other side. He's not looking at the ball strikes him. Would he have got in?
He was looking at the ball initially, though, wasn't he? He wants the single. Livingston calls him back. At this point, Roy gets across to the other side, and he is watching the ball. But whether you can say he's got himself deliberately between the ball and the stumps, I'm not sure. Come on, umpire Lloyd.
And it's Jason Roy.
Well, it's Jason Roy who's disappointed, and the crowd as well. A ring of boos goes around the ground, but I'm sure the third umpire has given him out because Roy has crossed paths. He's got over to the other side of the pitch, got himself between ball and stumps, and in the third umpire's opinion, he's done that deliberately. So Roy's innings, a very good innings, comes to an end. 67 from 45, 133 for 3.
In the third umpire's opinion, Jason Roy has gone across the crease deliberately to obstruct the throw, and that is why he was given out obstructing the field. You saw the umpires came together there, and good umpiring practice. Whenever you come together to confer, call and signal dead ball, and then walk towards your partner. What's also important there is that you don't have to judge whether or not the throw was going to hit the stumps. As long as the throw hits the batter, then he is in jeopardy of being given out obstructing the field. Are there any runs scored when a batter is out obstructing the field? Let's see what the law says. Law tells us that when either batter is dismissed obstructing the field, unless the obstruction or distraction prevents the striker being out caught, any runs by the batter before the offense shall be scored, together with any one-run penalty for no ball or wide, and any other award of 5 penalty runs to either side. So if that obstruction by Jason Roy happened when the second run was being attempted, then the first run would have still counted to the striker as well as the batting team, England. However, if the obstruction or distraction prevents the striker from being out caught, any runs completed by the batters shall not be scored, but of course any penalties awarded to either side shall always stand. So even if, let me sketch an example for you, ball is hit high up in the air, the batters cross and make good their ground on the opposite ends, and then while attempting the second run, they notice that the bowler is getting underneath the ball and will take an easy catch. So one of the batters bumps deliberately into the bowler, and as a result, the bowler drops the catch. So because that obstruction was preventing a catch from being taken, there will be no runs scored, even though they completed the first run before the obstruction. no runs will be scored, and the not out batter will return to his or her original end for the next delivery. Does a bowler get credit for obstructing the field dismissal? No, law tells us that the bowler does not get credit for an obstructing the field dismissal. That's law 37 done. Law 38 is the runouts. Let's start with how a batter can be out run out. Law tells us that either batter is out run out, except in the conditions described in the next slide. If at any time while the ball is in play, he or she is out of his or her ground, and his or her wicket is fairly put down by the action of a fielder. Even though a no ball has been called, we learned last week that you can be out run out off a no ball, and whether or not a run is being attempted. So when is a batter not out run out? Let's see what the law says. Law tells us that a batter is not out run out if he or she has been within his or her ground as has subsequently left it to avoid injury when the wicket is put down. A batter is not out run out if the ball has subsequently touched a fielder after the bowler has entered the delivery stride before the wicket is put down. Apologies, if the ball has not subsequently touched a fielder after the bowler has entered the delivery stride before the wicket is put down. So I will sketch a scenario that happened in my second 4-day game a few years ago, 2017, I think it was, where a bowler bowled the ball. It was the Dolphins against the Warriors in Port Elizabeth, now known as Gqeberha here in South Africa. The bowler was Freilink for the Dolphins, and the batter was Keegan Peterson, who is now a test batsman for the South African national side, the Proteas. Keegan Peterson hit the ball straight back towards the non-striker, Lesiba Mwepe, and the ball hit the non-striker's bat, and he was out of his ground. The ball deflected towards the non-striker's stumps, put the wicket down fairly with the non-striker out of his return crease. So now I was a little bit confused because there was another person involved in the run out, and I incorrectly gave the non-striker out run out. My partner at striker's end, realizing that the bowler was not close to getting a touch on the ball, scratched on the radio to get my attention and asked me, did the bowler get a hand on the ball? And I said no. And then he reminded me of this very law, that a fielder needed to have touched the ball before it hit the stumps. Otherwise, the batter cannot be out. So I had to, for the first time in my career, do one of these, cancel my decision and call the batter back. Actually, the batter had not walked because I think he also knew that something was wrong. So the decision was changed from out to not out. Why? Because the ball had not subsequently been touched by a member of the fielding side before the wicket was put down. The striker is also not out run out if he or she is stumped. So in a way, stumping takes preference over runouts. And then, if no ball has been called and the striker is out of his or her ground, but not attempting a run, and the wicket is fairly put down by the wicket keeper without the intervention of any other fielder, then the striker is not out, run out, and also not out stumped. You cannot be out stumped on a no ball. You can be out run out on a no ball, but law protects the striker if on a no ball the striker was not attempting a run. He or she was merely double stepping to try and hit the ball. Once he or she missed the ball, then they tried to turn back to get back into their crease, so not attempting a run. The striker, because it's a no ball, is protected from being stumped and also from being run out in that scenario where he or she is not attempting a run. In 2022, the lawmakers moved the running out of the non-striker, which is also referred to as the man-cad, from Law 41, unfair play, to Law 38, run out. So the video that you're now about to see still shows it under Law 41, but we have moved it to Law 38 as per the recent update in the law book. Just that these animation videos were made a few years ago now. Apologies, that's not the video that shows the non-striker leaving his or her ground early. Let us watch it now.
Running out the non-striker. Running out the non-striker occurs when a bowler runs out a batsman who has strayed too early out of the popping crease by removing the bails. It is a much debated form of dismissal, with some suggesting that a warning should be given. However, leaving his or her ground early is an attempt by the non-striker to gain an unfair advantage, and it puts a batsman at risk of getting out. The law doesn't require the bowler to give a warning, and he or she is entitled to run out the non-striker until the moment when he or she would normally have been expected to release the ball, in which case it's perfectly fair for the bowler to run the non-striker out. For more detail on this perfectly legal practice, see Law 4116 in the MCC's The Laws of Cricket.
So a couple of points to note there. The moving of the law from Law 41, unfair play, to Law 38, run out, is to put the onus on the non-striker to stay in his or her crease until the expected point of release of the delivery, because it would otherwise be an unfair advantage for the non-striker to leave the crease early. Second point to note is that no warning is required. So even if it's the first time that the non-striker is leaving his or her ground early and the wicket is put down fairly by the bowler before he or she reaches expected release point, then the umpire will, on appeal, have to make a decision. And again, this is another mode of dismissal where it is good umpiring practice to come together with your partner, because the strikers and umpire is in a better position to see whether or not the bowler had reached the expected point of delivery or not before putting down the stumps at the non-striker's end. Okay. So again, a very controversial mode of dismissal. As you're coming together, ask the fielding captain if they want to go ahead with the appeal or they would like to consider withdrawing the appeal. At international cricket, the captains of the national sides have instructed the ICC that they do not want to be asked to withdraw appeals. However, at club cricket, we still encourage umpires to encourage fielding captains to consider withdrawing any appeals which are considered controversial. So let's watch two videos now from recent matches where there were attempts to run out the non-striker. The first one is a correct execution of running out of the non-striker, and the second one is an incorrect execution of attempting to run out the non-striker. Let's have a look at the first one.
No. I'm not so sure. I know it's in the laws of the game.
I'm ready with my decision for the big screen.
So the reason that this execution was correct is that Deepti Sharma had not reached the point of expected release. And so she was well within her rights, seeing the non-striker outside of her crease to put down the wicket fairly. And the TV umpire correctly adjudged that the non-striker was out, run out. Now let's have a look at Adam Zampa attempting to run out a non-striker in a Big Bash league match last season.
Third umpire director, got a review for run out. We want to check whether the bowler's arm has gone past the vertical. That's satisfied the law for run out at the bowler's end.
Yep, this is critical because that's actually correct. Yep. So once the back foot is where most people
roll it through, roll it through, roll it through, roll it through, and roll it through further. Now his arm's gone past the vertical, therefore not out. Repeat, decision for the big screen will be not out.
Tell you what, that's Sean Craig in the hot seat, and that's a very interesting decision. The right call from the umpire. Yep.
So perfectly explained there by the TV umpire live to air. And the reason that it was given not out is that Adam Zampa had gone past the expected point of release, what the TV umpire described as the vertical, and so correctly ruled as not out. Okay, and that's why consultation with the strikers and umpire in club cricket, where we don't have the assistance of a TV umpire, your strikers and umpire can tell you whether or not the bowler had gone past the vertical or the expected release point before breaking the non-striker's wicket. Next law to cover is stumped. Let's have another look at an animation video to describe this law.
Stumped. All batsmen fear being stumped, and all wicket-keepers dream of stumping batsmen. So let's be clear about the law. The only player who can stump a batsman is this fellow, the wicket-keeper. A stumping can take place provided that the ball is not a no ball. You can be stumped off a wide, however. Here, for example, the batsman has moved out of his or her ground to play the ball, but has missed it and has not attempted a run. The wicket is fairly put down by the wicket-keeper without the intervention of another fielder. When all these conditions are met, the batsman will find that he or she has indeed been stumped. It's also okay for the ball to rebound onto the stumps off any part of the wicket-keeper, including his or her protective equipment or helmet. If it is a no ball, the batsman will not be out-stumped and is also protected from being run out as long as he or she is not attempting a run. Don't be stumped about stumping. Get a copy of the Blue Book and study Law 39.
Quick question on playing conditions. It is not in the law book and it is not in the Cricket South Africa Level 1 online exam, but it is something that I've seen a few umpires get wrong over the years. Please type in your answer in the chat box. Simple question. Can a striker be out-stumped off a free hit? Can a striker be out-stumped off a free hit? Yes or no? We will go through your answers at the end of our question and answer session. Right. Last law that we will be covering for this course. Remember that there are 42 laws in the law book. However, laws 41 and law 42 are not examined by Cricket South Africa's Level 1 umpiring online exam. We will cover them in good detail in Level 2 and Level 3. We hope you will join us for those in May next year and probably July or August 2024. So one that has suddenly become popular or much talked about because of the Angelo Matthews dismissal at the World Cup against Bangladesh. Let's see what the law has to say about time out. When is a batter timed out, or when can a batter be timed out? Law tells us that after the fall of a wicket or the retirement of a batter, the incoming batter must, unless time has been called, be ready to receive the ball or for the other batter to receive the next ball within 3 minutes of the dismissal or retirement. Interestingly, that text is in green, so that means that there is a question related to timed out in the exam. But you'll notice there that it says 3 minutes, and I'm sure those of you who followed the Angelo Matthews incident clearly and carefully will remember that the playing condition that was quoted says the next batter needs to be in within 2 minutes of the dismissal or retirement of the previous batter. So again, here we've got a difference in law versus playing conditions. And remember, when you're at a tournament or in a specific match that has playing conditions, those playing conditions will always override the law. If this requirement is not met, the incoming batter will be on appeal timed out. Does the bowler get credit for a timed out dismissal? Nope, the bowler did not do anything. Maybe the bowler appealed, but in terms of bowling action, the bowler was not involved in the timed out dismissal, so the bowler does not get credit for the dismissal of timed out. So let's have a look at the playing condition. Exactly as per the law, except in bold, you'll see there the other batter to be ready to receive the next ball within 2 minutes of the dismissal or retirement. Okay. So the playing conditions for one-day international cricket is that the batter has got 2 minutes to be ready. In T20 international cricket, and that's why you see the batters sitting in dugouts alongside the edge of the field, they only have 90 seconds to get to the crease and be ready for the next delivery to be bowled. So let's have a look at a couple of videos commenting on this dismissal.
I think Angelo Matthews brought the wrong helmet. To really ask the 12th man to get me another helmet.
Should have been ready, is what the message is. Was he ready to take strike? They have appealed Bangladesh.
I think Angelo Matthews is trying to explain to Saqib that there's something wrong with the strap, which really holds the helmet on your head. And I think Bangladesh just appealed. And the umpire says, yes, you time out, you got to go back. And
oh dear, oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Angelo Matthews given out without facing a ball. Timed out. You have to be ready to face the first ball within 2 minutes. Matthews was not, and hence been given out. That's a first timed out that I've come across in the recent past. 135 for 5.
It was indeed the first time in an international match that there was a timed out dismissal. And going against the protocols that the ICC have actually stated, the umpires asked Shakib Al Hassan, the captain of Bangladesh, who was the one who actually appealed, they asked him not once but twice to consider withdrawing his appeal. But as you saw, he wasn't really interested in Angelo Matthews' appeal or plea, and he upheld his appeal. He was adamant that he wanted to appeal, and the process there will be described by fourth umpire for the match, Adrian Holstock, and then I will comment further after his interview.
I think
Adrian, really sorry to put you in this position. First of all, nobody wants to be talking about peripheral incidents, but just give us an indication of what transpired out in the middle with the Matthews dismissal.
Thanks, Ian. First, I'd just like to say that and mention that the ICC World Cup playing conditions supersede the MCC laws of cricket. When it comes to timed out, at a fall of a wicket or even a retirement of a batsman, the incoming batter has to be in position and ready to receive the ball within 2 minutes, or his other partner to receive the ball in 2 minutes. And we have certain protocols within the PCT where the TV umpire, at a fall of a wicket, he basically monitors the 2 minutes, and he will then relay the message through to the on-field umpires. And in the instance this afternoon, the batter wasn't ready to receive the ball within those 2 minutes, even before the strap became an issue for him.
Right, so that, just to be clear, even before the strap burst and became an issue, the time had already elapsed.
That's correct, yeah. So the 2 minutes had already elapsed before he had received the next delivery, yeah.
Who initiated the appeal?
No, so according to law, or in the playing conditions, the fielding captain requested or initiated the appeal to Murray Erasmus, who was the standing umpire, that he wanted to appeal for timed out.
So was that before the strap came loose, or was that after that incident?
No, like I said to you, just after the strap came loose, the fielding captain can basically request to appeal for timed out.
So in that case, there is no discretion to be used for equipment malfunction?
No, I think as a batsman, I think you need to make sure that you have all your equipment in place in order to make sure you get here, because you actually have to be ready to receive the ball within 2 minutes, not ready to prepare or take your guard. So technically, you should be there within maybe 15 seconds to make sure all those things are in place before you actually receive the ball.
Right, and they're telling me time is up. There's a number of questions that I'd like to ask. I can't. Adrian, thank you very much for your time.
No, pleasure.
A couple of points to note there. I'm sure you all saw that Angelo Matthews came up with some evidence to show that he was actually at the crease within 1 minute and 55 seconds of the fall of the previous wicket. However, the fact remains that after 2 minutes, he was not ready to receive the delivery from Shakib Al Hasan. Otherwise, Shakib would have bowled. But Matthews, I think the mistake that he made was he didn't inform the umpires. He didn't request time from Shakib Al Hasan to get his helmet sorted. Because those of you who've played cricket or umpired cricket will know that it is common practice for a batter, if he or she has any problem with his or her equipment, to request of the fielding captain the time to change gloves or a broken bat, or in Angelo Matthews' case, a strap of a helmet. A lot of discussion around umpiring circles as to whether the umpires could have handled this a little bit better. And I think the general consensus is that if and when they had noticed that Angelo Matthews was having problems with his helmet strap before the appeal was made by Shakib Al Hasan, they should have called dead ball, even though the ball was already dead. Some people suggest the umpires should have called time, but in my opinion, you only call time at the end of a session or when players are forced to leave the field of play, maybe for a rain break. So I think they should have just called dead ball and gone to Angelo Matthews and figured out what the issue was. And once dead ball was called, then obviously the time would have been stopped by the third umpire. That's just my opinion. A lot of opinions floating around as to how this could have been handled differently. Maybe Abdullah can give his opinion as well after our next presentation. And that does bring us to our next presentation. You see here that we got Adrian Holstock, ICC Elite Panel umpire from South Africa, on this interview. He was also a poster boy for one of our level 1 face-to-face courses at a school here in Cape Town last year. Today we've got a new poster girl, Karen Claster. So Karen is with us this evening to present a match preparation presentation. Before she goes ahead, I just want to introduce her formally. She is a Cricket South Africa umpire on our reserve list panel, and she is also on the ICC development panel, and in January was one of the umpires for the women's ICC Under-19 T20 World Cup here in South Africa. So a trailblazer for female umpiring across the world and definitely in South Africa. Please all welcome Karen. Karen, are you with us? And are you going to share your presentation, or am I going to share it for you? Good evening.
Good evening, Tom. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I don't mind sharing my screen so then it's a bit easier to switch between the slides.
Please
If
do.
you just get that sorted.
Thank you. After Karen has presented, we will be taking questions from the chat box, but I'll also have a special question for Karen to answer. She doesn't know.
Okay, not a problem. Thank you so much, Tom.
Over to you, Karen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so this evening I'll just cover match preparation. And over here you can see we've got 4 areas we'd like to cover, which includes dress code, umpiring equipment, pre-match duties, as well as on-field technique. There are obviously a few other aspects that contribute to your match preparation, but these are the 4 areas we'd like to highlight and just elaborate on. So in terms of your dress code, depending on the type of game that you're officiating in, I mean, you get limited over cricket and then you get more day cricket, and that also changes. I mean, the ball color changes, so the attire will also change. So in this instance, we'll cover what would happen if you're doing a regular club game, you know. You could start off with a sponsored hat or cap. Make sure you've got a clean headband on that. In the picture below, you can see the gentlemen are wearing an ICC headband. It's the ICC logos in front. You can see it looks quite presentable. Then if you think of your shirt, make sure that it's clean and it's ironed, because again, how you present yourself says a lot about yourself and how you come across. Then make sure that you've got some comfortable fitting black pants on, not tracksuit pants or jeans. Again, as first word keyword there is comfortable fitting black pants. More often than not, we just resort to wearing formal black pants. Then if you think of the shoes that you'd be wearing, try and get some white running shoes. They are a lot more comfortable than just regular old sneakers or that kind of thing. And then your socks could match that. Predominantly white shoes. I mean, there's always a bit of color in there. There's some logos and that kind of stuff, but make sure that it's predominantly white. Then I'll speak a little bit later on about equipment, but here they speak about a modest watch, a belt, and then optionally would be some sunglasses. For myself, I wear contact lenses, so I make sure that I've always got sunglasses on for day games because it helps me with the wind, it helps me with the glare, and yeah, I mean, the sun is always an issue depending on which side you're standing on, so it does help a lot. But again, it's a preference thing. Some people don't like wearing the sunglasses and they prefer just being there as is, but it's completely up to you. Then if we move on to some on-field equipment, I've got a couple of it with me over here, so I'll show it as I go along. There are some non-negotiables when it comes to equipment, and there are some additional things that you can have to aid yourself. If you think of clickers, you get your stock standard little clicker over here. You've got your overs and you've got the balls at the bottom, and then you've got one like this where you've got the wickets attached to it as well. That helps. But again, this I only started using later on in my career because I had so many aids to assist me. I've got a third umpire that's quite on the ball with regards to a lot of the nitty-gritty details. So I didn't need to be writing down as much on a card. Speaking of a card, make sure that you've got your bowler's card with you. Yeah, you can keep track of who the bowlers are, which overs they've bowled, where you are in the game as well. At the bottom, you can fill in when the wicket falls, how it fell, the time it falls. Early on, they spoke about the incident where the person was timed out. So you might want to write down the time that the wicket falls to aid yourself. Then with regards to pens, you can have one, but ideally make sure that you've got two with you, because more often than not, that one little pen gets stage fright and you end up not having something to write with. So make sure you've got two with you. You can also have bowler's markers in your pocket. I've got one that's got a little thingy at the bottom that helps me where I put my marker. So that's where I'll stand, and then I'll always hand the one to the bowler. If you're standing at Newlands, the groundsman will tell you directly, listen, I don't want any marks on the square. So a marker is the perfect thing to use in instances like that as well. Then if you are in places like PE where the wind is extremely bad, you might want to get some heavy bails. That will help a lot, because I mean, then you can still continue playing the game with some bails on. Sometimes you're forced to not have any bails whatsoever, but if you've got heavy bails, then you are sorted. And as the game progresses, you'll see that the ball will deteriorate a lot. Okay, so make sure that you've got a nail clipper or some scissors with you, so that you can just clip away the bits and pieces on the edges. You don't want an instance where, because of the ball deteriorating during the course of play, it looks like there's some ball tampering. So if you are doing regular inspections, you would see when it's necessary for you to get involved and just clip away at the bits and pieces coming off. Then we've got some optional extras. Here they mentioned 3, such as a spiky, a ball gauge, and sweets. So depending on if it's men's or women's game, you've got ball gauges. These will come into play with more day cricket, not so much with the limited overs because those balls last. But with more day cricket, you need to keep tabs on the condition of the ball as the game progresses. For myself, as I said earlier on, I will always have sunglasses during my games. I'll also always have some chewing gum with me, as well as some lip balm. It gets rough out there, and you kind of just want to keep yourself on the ball with that kind of thing. And then some guys like having sweets or biltong. Some have a bit of nuts or dried fruit in their pockets. But again, it's your preference. You just want to try and keep your energy levels up as far as possible and for as long as possible, especially in the longer formats where you tend to only have your drinks break, you know. So again, preference takes key here. And if we move on to the equipment in your bag, the things that you just want to have with you at the field, not necessarily on the field with you. Make sure you've got a spare standing shirt. Some guys want to change it just because they want to feel fresh again. You've been perspiring, it's hot, so that's also okay. Other times you might have missed something, some sunscreen or whatever the case may be on, and you just want to have a spare shirt with you. Then having a tape measure is crucial. This one over here, I think it's a 30-meter tape measure. And we use it to measure your creases, your inner rings, that kind of thing. Sometimes a bowler might even ask you, listen, can we borrow it just to measure our run-up? But it's more for you when it comes to measuring the creases and so on. Make sure that you've always got your law book with you if ever you need to consult or you want to reference something in there, get some clarity on something. And as Tommy alluded to earlier on, playing conditions are crucial and they will override your law book. So yeah, I always make sure I've got a printed out copy of my playing conditions, because there's a lot of things in there that are specific to the game that I'm doing. And then in the next line there, you'll see they mention team sheets, captain's reports, and violation reports. So I've always got a little file here, and it's got everything that I need. Code of conduct is printed out, captain's reports, all of that kind of stuff, because if anything happens and you need the document, it's there, it's ready. You don't still need to run around asking someone to print the document. And if you go higher up, you don't have access to your cell phone or any electronic devices. So you can't say, oh, hey, I just want to check my phone quickly for this or that. Have the documents printed out there and then, so that you know you've covered your bases. Then we speak about spare balls. You as an umpire are responsible for the spare balls. Always make sure that the spare balls that you have are the correct brand as well as sizes with regards to the game that you are playing. Look, when it comes to a club game, we don't always have access to 12 spare balls, but at least 6 or so spare balls. More often than not, we need to obtain these from the coaches, but that's 100% okay. Just make sure it is the correct brand and the size. Sunscreen is a crucial aspect in cricket. It doesn't matter which level you're standing at. You'll always need some sunscreen and toilet paper as well as sanitary products for the ladies. That's something that you always got to take with you. You never know what the conditions are at the field. Something I just realized now as extras for myself in my bag would be a coin for when we toss, as well as hairbands, because the girls always need hairbands or clips or that kind of stuff. And I also always carry a little clip on my belt, because you get players that want to give you their caps or their sleeves, they give you their pullovers, and you just want to clip all of these kind of things so that your hands are clutter free. But some optional extras to keep in your bag just at the field with you would be some eye drops, deodorant, and a lunch would also be a good idea, or a snack or something, some fruit, definitely some water. I've got some friends, some colleagues that also carry some rehydrate in their bag, because you don't know what the conditions are going to do to you on that day. So it's just a good idea to be prepared for these kind of things. And then we move on to pre-match duties. So everybody prepares differently for their matches, even when they do the preparation, but more often than not, you want to emphasize getting a lot of things done prior to the commencement of the game, not on the day, but the night before. So whether it's putting your clothes ready, whether it's polishing your shoes, or whatever the case may be, ironing your shirts, that kind of thing. There's a lot you can do prior to match day. So go through those playing conditions again. Go through the main points, such as your overrates, your fielding restrictions, whether it's men's or ladies. Make sure that you know what the boundary measurement should be, the size of the ball. There's a couple of things that will always change from, let me say, series to series or league to league. And then if you look here, they mentioned getting good sleep, enough sleep. 8 hours is about an average, a good average to work with. Then make sure that you know where you are being appointed. Check on Google Maps if need be, how long it's going to take you to get there, so that you are there in time and you don't end up being late. Take into consideration traffic and all of that kind of stuff. If you need to pick someone up, because you need to be punctual. As I said earlier on, make sure that your clothes are ironed, your bags are packed the day before, so that you're not scrambling around the morning of the game trying to get your things ready. And something to try and get right is make sure that your captain's reports are filled in, because when you get to the field, there are so many other things that you need to focus on. These are one of the things you can tick off on your list prior to arriving to the field. It will also aid you being a lot more relaxed when you do arrive at the field. So this is an example of the Western Province Cricket Umpires Association Captain's Report on the umpires. So you can put in your fixture, your home team, your away team. That will also help you when you get to the toss. You'll know who's your home team and who's your away team. So yeah. Then we move on to pre-match duties when you get to the field. So now you've got your bag sorted, your clothing sorted, you know where you're going the following day. And as I said, make sure that you are punctual. You'll see in the law book, they'll speak about a different time frame, but an hour before the scheduled start of play is ideal. Sometimes you might want to be there earlier. International games, you'll definitely want to be there about an hour and a half, 2 hours earlier, because there's a lot more admin, paperwork, logistics in general that you want to cover. So you just want to ease into a game. You don't want to be too rushed. And then you and your partner need to do things together, whether it's going onto the field to inspect the field and the pitch, or it's consulting with a captain. You are there in union and you are there as a team. So wait for your partner before you go out and do the inspection. When you go out, make sure that you've got that coin in your pocket. Make sure you've got your marker there as well, so that when you line up, it's there already. And you can take your tape measure with you, because you're going to need it as soon as you get to the pitch. Then before the toss could take place, you would make sure that you've got the completed sheets before you do the toss, right? So on the sheets, make sure they've got the captain marked, they've got the wicketkeeper marked, and they've got enough players. If they have shirt numbers, put that in as well. It will help a lot. If they want to add a batting lineup, great, that can help too. But just make sure you have those sheets before you do the toss, because that cannot change after the toss has already taken place. Okay, so the next point over here is confirming that both teams have the correct match balls that need to be used. So from each division or each league, the balls differ. So the brand is important as well as the size. Ladies will play with a 142, men will play with a 156 gram. And some might be a 2-piece, some might be a 4-piece. So you have to pay crucial attention to something like that before you walk onto the field. The next point that we touch on is agreeing on the boundary as well as the allowances for the boundary. So at some fields, you'll get trees that are overhanging. TUT in Gauteng has, what do you call these things? It's got power cables running across the field, you know, so you've got to be observant when you get to the field, scan the area, look at all of these kind of obstructions that could take place. And then you've got to consult with your groundsman what the general consensus around that item could be and how it's normally treated. Sometimes you've got rugby poles that are in the way. So you need to discuss all these things prior to the toss so that when you get at the toss, you're able to just convey the information. There again, special conditions affecting the match. But if I think of another boundary, it would be the one in Pietermaritzburg. There's a tree within the field. And there's a general rule at that field already. It's even printed on the back on the board there. So it's those kind of things that you need to take on board, and you can just relay the message when the toss does take place. I have a little watch over here, right? So as I said, you higher up, you cannot have smart watches and stuff with you. So always just make sure that you've got just a standard little watch, and make sure that you sync this watch up with your partner as well as the scorers. So if anything happens during the course of the game, there's an infringement of some sort, everybody is in sync with the time that you note down for when this took place. But also, like with Matthews's dismissal, you've got a stopwatch on these little watches as well that you can just keep running, because you don't have a third umpire to do that for you, you know. But yeah, the next one is about the wickets being properly pitched, because it's unfair if these wickets are skewed in any direction. That could aid the fielding team, or it could aid the batter as well, you know. So you want to make sure that it's properly pitched. Check with your partner on the other end to just tell you if you need to move it, if you need to move it down, that kind of thing. And then, as I said, you've got your tape measure with you. So it is crucial for you to measure the creases as well as the pitch length. If you are doing limited over cricket, you'd have to make sure that the inner ring is there as well. Make sure that it is the correct length, 23 meters for the ladies, 27 for the guys. And then also make sure that when you are taking these measurements, you are taking them from the right place. Sometimes it's from on the inside edge, sometimes it's on the outside edge. So consult your little law book or your playing conditions with regards to where you need to take that measurement from. Then if we look at the side screens, depending on the format that you're playing, sometimes your side screen needs to be black, sometimes it needs to be white. Make sure that you are abiding by that as well, and it is a correct size. You don't want side screens that are so narrow or they don't cover the strip that you're playing on. You would have a lot of problems with batters not being able to see the bowler running in. So again, check this before the game, before you do the toss, so that you can fix all these things before the game commences. And then when it comes to the covers, the roller, spare dumps, sawdust, all of that kind of stuff, you need to know how much you have of each of it. Is it even available? You'd also need to know where are your ground softs situated at that field. Are they hidden away, which is hopefully not the case? Do you have access to them? How do you reach them? How quickly they get these things done? How much time they need to put covers on? How much time you need to take covers off? Because you would need that as a general consensus for how you are going to manage getting as much cricket in as possible. And you kind of want to build relationships with these guys so that they are able to assist you as well. And yeah, then we speak about the covers on the side. There's no point in these covers being sopping wet and being brought onto the wicket when there's rain. So also try and make sure that those covers are dry, or get the guys to dry them before they bring them on, that kind of thing. Just manage that kind of stuff. Then we speak about both umpires verbalizing a couple of points at the toss itself. So you don't want one umpire being extremely dominant over the other. So both of you try and relay a couple of points across, and also leave space and time for the captains to ask you questions. So you don't always have to do all the talking, you know. Excuse me. And then we move on to the type of discussion that you'd have at the toss. Conversations about how the pitch might play, you know, relay the key points within your playing conditions with regards to discipline, being their responsibility, overrates, how that's managed, etc. But don't have any conversations about how it's going to play. Then we move on to communication with your partner. Okay, so it's very crucial that your non-verbal signals are on par. Just excuse me. So before taking the field, make sure that you agree on what your non-verbal signals are. And after any extra, always reconfirm how many balls are left. You can also give guidance as to where the bat is standing, waist-high no balls, short pitch deliveries, and always just communicate with the captains together. But yeah, I think that's all from my side. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask.
Thank you so much, Karen. That was superb from an international umpire, as expected. And I will be sending out this presentation to all of you via email tonight or tomorrow morning. It's not part of the course material that I have previously sent you all. So now we start our question and answer session. And I'm going to kick off, before we go into the chat box, I'm going to kick off with a question for Karen. And I hope you've had enough water to clear your throat. I know it is.
Trying my best, yeah, Tom, trying my best.
I know it can be quite overwhelming speaking for 30 minutes nonstop. That's why I've always got a cup of coffee or orange juice to help me through a presentation. So we've got a couple of ladies on the call, Karen, and I think it's important for us to talk about the ICC's strategy of promoting not only women's cricket, but also female umpires through the various pathways, whether it's club cricket, provincial cricket, or international cricket. So if I could ask you maybe just to give us a brief talk about your umpiring career from start up to now, how long it took, what levels did you do when, and how did you become an ICC development panel umpire? Yeah, a great story to tell, and hopefully an inspirational one for those ladies on the call tonight.
Thank you so much, Tom. So for myself, I started out as a player in the Northern Cape, and then eventually, I think it was towards the end of 2017, I did my level 1 umpires exam, and I'm like, you know what, I prefer this over the scoring. So it was the better way for me to still stay involved in the game. And my first tournament was a SA Defence Force tournament, right? So they get the Army, the Navy, and the military in. They play a couple of games, and it went all right. And thereafter, I was invited to, I think it was the Women's Week, and that's what I did. I think it was in 2018. So there we played 50 over cricket. I was the newbie. In my very first meeting, they asked me about fielding restrictions, and it went completely over my head. I didn't know that, you know, so I didn't know what I was looking for in my playing conditions. But as I went along on my journey, I understood how pivotal playing conditions are and what changes more or less each time. But the tournament I did thereafter was, I think I went to, yes, I don't even remember now, but I eventually ended up going to USAA. Oh, I did Rural Weeks. Yes, I ended up going to the Rural tournaments. And thereafter, I only got invited to the USAA tournament as well as the Kaimajola Coke Week. So I was fortunate enough to not do a age group tournament, and I think it's because South Africa was under a bit of pressure to produce a female, you know, so they guided me all the way to be ready for these type of tournaments, you know. But with the structures in place now, they've reintroduced under 16 girls tournaments. So there's even more opportunity for our ladies to showcase their talents. So now you could end up doing a under 16 girls week, then an under 19 girls week, and then hopefully even a coach week. But there is a pipeline in place, and I know that there are quite a few ladies coming through the system at this point in time. So I can tell you that, excuse me, I can tell you that every country, every board needs to produce 4 female umpires. South Africa currently just has 2. So there is space, you know. There are ladies that are currently at the USAA week on their way to the Coke week. And those are the next ladies in line for panel appointments and that kind of thing. Thereafter, you're looking at your reserve panel, you're looking at your first loss panel. But for myself, it was last year in October, I received the appointment for the Varsity Cup tournament. And that was the first I would ever get exposed to TV games. And it was that same week that they let me know that I'm on the ICC development panel, right? And I didn't know what that meant at the time. I was just like, wow, ICC, this means this is probably something big. What am I now eligible to do? And shortly thereafter, they let me know that I could go to I would be appointed the Under-19 World Cup in Jan. But it was in that time, within those 2 months, 3 months, that I would also have to write my national exam because I needed that to be able to go to the World Cup, you know. And with your national exam, it deals with more-day cricket. It's not something I've ever played. It's not something I've ever umpired. And it's something I've barely watched. So that's when the hard work really started for me, because I got my wake-up call that, listen, I can now make a career out of this, you know. And I might not have made that just yet. I'm still on my way to do that. But that's when things took off. And it's been an incredible journey thus far. And there's just been massive opportunity on every front, whether it's provincially or domestically, and now it's even become internationally. There is massive opportunity for females. And it's not a matter of, oh, play all the way, just remain being a player, and only once you are retired, join the umpiring force. You could do this a lot earlier. Let youth count in your favor, you know. So yeah, I would encourage girls, definitely. Something that's viable long term. So yeah, that's been my journey.
Awesome, Karen. Very inspiring, and I'm sure everybody wants to know, especially the female umpires in the call with us. Are you currently able to make a living out of umpiring, or do you still have a full-time job? How are you juggling your life at the moment?
So for myself, I'm on the CSA reserve panel. So that means I'm eligible to do domestic Division 2 games. I'm also, as he said, on the ICC development panel. So I'm able to do international ladies games. But yes, I could make a living out of it. And that is the current plan.
Awesome. Great stuff.
Thank you.
That's it from me. But I know Abdullah has got a question for you. Abdullah, please join the conversation. And before you go, I just want to let the rest of the candidates know that Abdullah and Karen are currently in camp together. And tomorrow they will be officiating in Abdullah's T20 international debut. Karen you have done T20 internationals already. So that's Abdullah's women's T20 international debut, South Africa against Bangladesh, tomorrow in Bloemfontein, if I'm not mistaken. Kimberley.
Yeah.
So all the best to the two of you. You're going to be standing together. I'm going to be watching, and if it is streamed online, I will send the link to all our 652 candidates who have been following our course on my mailing list. So you guys will have a lot of eyes on you. Enjoy it. And thank you again, Karen, for joining us this evening. Abdullah, over to you for your question to Karen.
Thank you so much, Tom. Good evening to you, Karen. I am so looking forward to standing with you tomorrow. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking of it. So, Karen, my question is with regards to preparation. So, how do you prepare for the games at various levels? Are there a difference in your preparation with regards to, let's say, a club game, a provincial game, or an international game? Over to you, Karen.
Thank you, Dilla. So, if I think of a general answer, it would be no. I try and prepare the same for each of them because I'd like to umpire the same way for each of them. So I don't drop the standard just because it's a club game, but I do try and do better when I am doing an international game because I know that there are a lot more facets that come into play. Things that I would do the same every time is summarizing my playing conditions and going through that, making sure that my bags are packed the night before, my clothing is ready, and always being punctual, regardless of which game it is. But I do know that when I am doing like a club game, there are certain things that I have to do in addition to that I wouldn't do at an international game, like going for coin toss or having captain's reports ready or having team sheets ready. So there are smaller things. I feel like I have to do a lot more when it comes to a club game because I have so many resources available when I am doing a higher game. But the general feel is no, I don't prepare differently because I'd like to continue doing the same thing throughout.
Excellent. Thanks, Karen. I think consistency in preparation is key because all the players ever ask for from umpires is consistency in decision making. And I think consistency in your preparation and also your routines will breed consistency in your decision making. Cool. Thank you so much, Karen. You are welcome to stay. We are going to go through the questions and comments in the chat box now, after which we will take live questions by virtual hand. So looking at the chat box, Nitin, always busy in the chat box, wanted to know about hit wicket, and Abdullah did answer his question in the presentation. Next question is from Salim. If a batter is trying to hit the ball twice to protect his stumps from the ball landing on the stumps, but accidentally when the batter hits the ball, then the ball goes on to hit the stumps, is that considered bowled or is that considered not out, Abdullah? Because he wasn't intentionally trying to hit the ball twice. Well, he was, but it was to defend his stumps. So I think we all agree that he's not out hit wicket, but is he out bowled? What do you make of that scenario, please, Dula?
So Salim, as Tom alluded to, that yes, this is not out hit wicket, nor can it be out hit the ball twice. So is this out? Yes or no? There's only one other way that this can be out, and we've covered this in the very first law this evening. So let's see if this meets the bold criteria. So under the bold law, while the ball is still in play, the ball needs to take the wicket down, and if the ball puts the wicket down, then the batter to be given out bowled. So in your scenario, ball still alive, a ball then went from bat onto wickets with the ball putting the wicket down. So in this scenario, because the ball put the wicket down, ball still alive, this batter would be out bowled in your scenario. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. Next, we have answers to Abdullah's hit wicket scenario, where the volume was off, because one thing I've learned over the years is that commentators do not know their laws. And so very good of Abdullah to not try and influence your decision by the comments made by the commentator in that hit wicket appeal. So I'm scrolling through all of the answers, and 98% of you said not out because the shot was completed. We do have Dion who says out. The batter took action in receiving the delivery, and the delivery was not a no ball. And I think Professor Atik also says out. It is hit wicket since he tried to play the ball and his bat hit the wicket. Abdullah, I think you can give us your opinion on this scenario. It's important to note that it is an opinion law. So the same way that we, when adjudicating a leg before wicket, we need to decide whether, if it was not for the impact of the body of the person of the striker intercepting the delivery, would the ball have gone on to hit the stumps? And it is our opinion whether or not the ball would have gone on to hit the stumps. Now here in the hit wicket dismissal, we need to decide, has Brendan Taylor in that video completed his shot or completed receiving the delivery? If you feel that he has completed receiving the delivery before he puts the wicket down, then you answer not out. If you feel that he has not completed receiving the delivery when he put the wicket down, then you answer out. So it is your opinion. Abdullah, please talk us through your opinion, and then I will talk through the match referee's opinion of the TV umpire's decision on the day.
So Tom, what I'm going to do is, in going through this decision, I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to go back to the hit wicket law. I'm going to first cover what the law say. We're going to go back to the video. I'm not going to play the whole video over again. I'm going to move it forward until the crux. We're then going to look at it slowly and then applying the law to the pictures. And then I will give you my interpretation. So firstly, let's go to exactly what the law tells us. So in terms of out hit wicket, we saw that there is a window period. That window period starts as soon as the bowler enters his or her delivery stride. So when does that window period close? Bullet point number 1 tell us in the slide that window period closes after the striker has completed any action in the receiving delivery. After the shot is done, after the striker's completed the shot, completed any action in trying to play at that ball, that is when that window period closes. So as soon as the window period closed, anything that happens after that is irrelevant. So now we've gone through what the law say. So let's go look at the video. I'm going to play it, and I'm going to fast forward it until we get to this part. So what I want you to look at is, Look at the shot.
We're not too sure.
That
But the bails
let
were off.
me just put off the sound again.
One of the
I
bail.
don't want you to listen to the commentators because
Let's see what has
they
happened.
got
It's
this
fine.
wrong. So I want you to look at the shot. What type of shot is Brendan Taylor trying to play? So Brendan, I'm pausing it here. So third man was up in the circle. Brendan tried to play a late cut or a scoop over the wicket keeper. So that was the shot that Brendan tried to play. A scoop, and he tried to play it over the keeper to go either for boundary 4 or boundary 6. So that's the shot Brendan wanted to play. So if I move it further, so now I'll see you wanted to play a scoop, and I'll stop it there because that's where he's going to take off the bail. Is this action that Brendan is doing part of that shot that Brendan tried to play? Remember, Brendan tried to play a scoop over the keeper. Is this what he's busy doing, part of that scoop shot? So again, take it back a few frames. Again, look at the shot. He's trying to scoop. So this action that he's doing now, is that part of the scoop? Is that part of the scoop? From my opinion, that is not part of the scoop that Brendan tried to play. So for me, as soon as Brendan completed the shot, he tried to play the scoop, there the shot is done. For me, the shot is done there. Anything that happened after that is irrelevant. And that is why I'm saying that this is not out hit wicket because Brendan tried to play a scoop. Shot was done. That action afterwards was done after the scoop. Wasn't part of the scoop. Wasn't part of the shot. Hence, not out hit wicket. Over to you, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. You can see there that Brendan Taylor had a bemused look on his face because he was given out hit wicket by the TV umpire. The match referee who is in charge of the umpires in a match around the world and also in Cricket South Africa, all professional cricket matches have match referees in charge, and they adjudicate the performance of the umpires on the day. They marked the decision of the TV umpire as incorrect for that particular decision. So yes, it is an opinion law, but the general consensus of all professional ICC elite panel umpires was that it should have been given not out. So yes, we can differ in opinions, but I think as explained by Abdullah there, it was quite clear that the shot was complete. The attempt to ramp the ball over short third man was definitely completed by Brendan Taylor before he put down the wickets. So it should have been not out hit wicket. Right, then my next question to all of you was, can a batter be out stumped off a free hit? And it looks like everybody answered no, you cannot be out stumped off a free hit. So well done there. Stanley Hobber's got a question about runouts. When the ball hits the bowler's ends wickets and the non-striker from the bowler's end has crossed and is now at the striker's end, where would the new batter come in? And who would be on strike? So Stanley, it's quite simple. where the run out is affected. So the run out was affected at the non-striker's end or the bowler's end. So the striker for that delivery who had crossed but did not make his ground at the non-striker's end where the wicket was put down, the striker would be out run out and the new batter will be at the non-striker's end where the wicket was put down. Okay, and if it's still the same over, then the previous non-striker will be on strike for the next delivery, and the new batter will be the non-striker for the next delivery. Diamond says that when you have an obstructing the field appeal, proving intent by the batter who caused the obstruction is not easy. Maybe using the words intentionally and negligently sounds better. Diamond, it is a judgment call that you and your partner need to make. Was the obstruction willful or not? Umpiring is not easy. You won't get easy obstructing the field decisions most of the time. You need to have the courage to make the decision without fear or favor, applying the letter of the law. Next scenario is from Ruban Kumar. If a batter hits the ball and it goes straight up above the batter's head, the wicketkeeper tries to catch the ball and breaks the stumps and both bails down accidentally. So I think the wicketkeeper, in trying to get to position for the catch, has, because he was watching the catch, watching the ball up in the air, he didn't see the stumps and he's put the stumps down by knocking them over with his legs. The wicketkeeper had the sun in his eyes and drops the ball without touching it. The ball lands near the stumps and it hits the stumps. Is it out bowled? So Abdullah, the ball has not touched any fielder. It was hit straight up in the air by the striker. The wicketkeeper has put down the wicket at the striker's end before the ball then hits the stumps at the striker's end. There's an appeal, as there would always be when the ball puts the wicket down, or even the wicketkeeper putting the stumps down. What is your decision, out or not out, and what modes of dismissal are we looking at here, Abdullah?
So firstly, decision on this appeal, not out. A reason is as follows. The keeper accidentally took down the bells. So that means this wicket is now currently down. So now once bells gets removed accidentally, for you to put the wicket now down again, you either need to take a stump totally out the ground. You can put the bells technically back on if you want to, or you need to uproot one of the stumps by ball in one hand, stump in one hand, and then together take out one of the stumps. That is, I'm just giving you the methods of how to put the wicket down. But in this scenario, because the wicket is down, the keeper taking the bells off accidentally. Now with the ball falling onto the stumps, there was no keeper didn't touch it or anything, but because the wicket is down already, the ball making contact with the stumps now cannot, you cannot put now the wicket down a second time. So now, for that reason, on this appeal, not out bowled, wicket is already down, even though the ball hit the stumps, but a wicket is already down because the keeper accidentally took off the bails. So better lucky here in this instance that the keeper accidentally took off the bails. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. Next scenario is from Nitin, and it regards the running out of the non-striker. So he says, other than the bowler reaching the delivery point, which is the latest point at which you can affect a run out at the non-striker's end by the bowler, can we consider also the popping crease in terms of a point where the bowler cannot go past in terms of allowing that bowler to run out the non-striker? So what if the what if the bowler does not actually go up to the point of delivery or the expected point of delivery, but almost just keeps running through the crease and then realizes that the non-striker is out of his or her crease and then throws the ball back from past the popping crease to put the stumps down, to put the wicket down? Abdullah, do we call dead ball, or is the ball still alive? And because the ball is still alive and the bowler did not go through the vertical or past the expected point of delivery, do we actually allow the appeal and judge whether or not the non-striker was out of the crease when the wicket was fairly put down?
The lawmakers decided that there needs to be some cut-off point somewhere. You cannot have an open-ended window period for the bowler to run out the non-striker. So yes, we get guided by the lawmakers, and they decided that once the bowler gets past that popping crease, and there's been no attempt by the bowler to try to run out the non-striker, it is fair for the bowlers in umpire to, since there's been no attempt, bowler has run past the popping crease, to call and signal dead ball. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. The next question is from Diamond. Interesting one. Who is responsible for health and safety on the field and emergency evacuations in the event of an emergency? Is that something that umpires need to be worried about, or are there other resources available for the umpires to call on, Abdullah?
Tom, it depends on the level of cricket or that particular game is played at. I can let me start right at the top. I'm currently involved in a women's international series, Bangladesh versus South Africa. And part of there was a pre-series meeting with coaches, captains of both sides, as well as medical personnel of both sides. So there is an ambulance on duty, there is a doctor on duty, and they were taken through we were not part of that medical briefing. It was only the medical personnel of the two teams, as well as the team managers of the respective teams. But what I do know is they were taken through medical briefings. What will be done if X and Y happen? There is an ambulance on duty here. There's a doctor on duty. There's a hospital on ready available. It's a hospital not too close, not too far from the ground. There's a dentist on duty. There's a heart doctor on duty, not at the ground, but they part of the preparation for the series is that certain doctors needs to avail themselves. They are on emergency. So if the doctor that's currently at the field do phone the is an emergency, let's say there's someone is a heart attack, they can then phone the cardiologist, and the cardiologist will then come immediately. That is at international level, where the doctor, the medical staff, they in charge of any medical issues that happens on and even off the field. The doctor's not there just for the players. Any medical situation, they are there. In terms of emergency evacuation, that's also been put in play. There's a team that covers that. So if there's any emergency, whatever the case may be, there is a team in place that will direct not just the players, not just the support staff, but but everyone involved in the game, including the crowd. So it's very well organized at international level. At provincial level, if I go down one step, or at provincial level also, there are a ambulance on duty. There are a doctor on duty. Also, there are cardiologists, dentists. They are on call. If there is an emergency, they can be summoned to the ground as soon as possible. So those are, and also in terms of emergency evacuation, those plans are also in place. They do drills regularly. So if anything happens, there is a team in place that will make sure that the safety of players, support staff, everyone is taken care of. If we go down one level and now let's say we're at club level, yes. These doctors and ambulances are obviously not available at club level. If something should happen on the field and there needs medical attention, it's important for the umpires to make sure that the player gets medical attention. You stop the game, if the player needs medical attention. And I had an example in a club game where the player took a catch, fell on his back and neck. So initially it looked serious. It looked like he had a back injury or a neck injury. And initially we didn't want to move him. So we said to the coach, get the ambulance. We don't want to move him. We don't want to take any chances. So that was initially how it looked. But the fielder was actually just winded, and 2 minutes later, fielder got up and was bowling the next ball 2-3 minutes later. But just the point I'm trying to make is, at club level, we don't have the comforts that they are at international or provincial level. But if something do happen on the side of caution, if there needs medical attention to anyone, make sure that they do get the medical attention. Tom, did I cover everything?
100%, Dula. Happy with that answer. Thank you. Next question is from Enessi, directed at Karen, but I can take this one. What do you mean by national exams? Enessi, currently we are busy with Cricket South Africa's level 1 umpiring course, and there will be an exam from the 18th to the 28th of December, which you can do in the comfort of your home office or anywhere really with an internet connection. That's level 1 that the candidates will be attempting at the end of the month. Then we have in May next year, level 2. Then if candidates pass level 2, they can write level 3 later next year, June or July. Sorry, July or August. Level 1, 2, and 3 are open to the public, and we make them open to the entire world. So thank you all for joining us from the various cricketing corners of the globe. Cricket South Africa's national umpiring exam is also known as level 4, and level 4 is by invite only and is only for South African umpires who have been earmarked by Cricket South Africa to officiate in provincial cricket in South Africa and hopefully ultimately international cricket around the world. So I have mentioned this in our first lecture. We do not offer level 4 online or even face-to-face. It is by invitation only. So that's the national exam that Karen was talking about. It is not open to the public. So please, level 1, 2, and 3, you're all welcome, but level 4 only by invite to South African umpires earmarked by Cricket South Africa to umpire first-class cricket in South Africa and hopefully international cricket if they do well. So that's what Abdullah and I, as well as Karen, have got, and all other national panel umpires in South Africa. They are level 4 certified, or they have passed their national umpiring exam. So a few well wishes for Abdullah and Karen for tomorrow. And I will, as mentioned, post a link for their match if it is streamed on Cricket South Africa's YouTube channel tomorrow. Nitin suggests that you two should get proper sleep tonight before your match tomorrow. Nitin, it is a 6 p.m. Start, so I think they should be able to get enough sleep and be fresh for their game tomorrow. Next question is from Atik. He asks about handling the ball by the batter. And you'll notice, ladies and gents, that I use the term batter and not batsman. In 2022, the International Cricket Council declared the word batsman as not null and void, but I think the correct word is obsolete. We now go with gender neutral words such as batter. And whenever I mention he, you'll notice that I also mention she. So when I read some of your comments which have the word batsman in it, I will change it to batter. The videos that we are watching, the animated videos, are before 2022, so that's why they use the word batsman. Handling the ball by a batter. When the ball is played by the batter and the ball comes towards the wicket, and the batter by mistake suddenly tries to stop the ball with his or her hand, is he or she out, Abdullah?
Prof, it's going to depend which hand the batter used to stop the ball, because the law allows for the batter to protect his or her wicket by hitting it a second, third, or fourth time. So the batter can use the bat, any part of the body, by kicking it, hitting it with the bat, using the hand that's holding the bat to hit the ball away. If this is my bat and I hit the ball while holding the bat, I hit the ball away from going onto the wicket, that is also allowed. But what is not allowed, Prof, is to use the hand that is not on the bat to hit the ball away to protect your wicket. If the batter or striker do use the hand that is not on the bat to hit the ball away to protect his or her wicket, on appeal, the striker to be given out obstructing the field. So it's only if the striker uses the hand that is not on the bat to protect the wicket. And if there's an appeal, then striker to be given out, obstructing the field. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. We've got two more obstructing the field scenarios, both of them from Shah. The first one reads as follows. The striker hits the ball high up in the air towards a fielder nearing the batting team's dugout. The batters complete one run and turn for a second as the fielder is about to take the catch. The players in the dugout shout, "Drop it, drop it, drop it!" And the fielder is distracted and drops the attempted catch. He then, of course, appeals for obstructing the field. How does the umpire answer this appeal, please, Abdullah?
Sir, the law only speaks about if the batter prevents a catch from being taken. And if that is the case, and if it's not a no ball, the striker to be given out on appeal. But in your scenario, it is actually the dugout, and it was obviously not the fielding dugout because the fielders are on the field. It must have been the batting dugout that shouted, drop it, drop it, drop it. Yes, they are members of the batting side, but they're not on the field of play. You look at this similarly to if someone from the crowd shouted, drop it, drop it, drop it, and then the fielder dropped the ball. Nothing you can do about it. If someone from the crowd shouts, drop it, drop it, drop it, nothing you can do about it. Similarly, if the dugout shouts, drop it, drop it, drop it, unfortunately, the law does not cover members of the side sitting in the dugout. It needs to be one of the batters that either by word or action. Yes, you will have, this is unsportsmanlike conduct. You will definitely have a word with the captain of the batting side. If this was a provincial game, this would definitely be reported to the match referee for unsportingly conduct. There will definitely be captain will definitely be called in as well as the coach. But other than that, this particular appeal will have to be not out. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. Last appeal for the evening. The non-striker attempting to run on a ball that has gone through to the wicketkeeper sees that he will be out of his ground if the wicketkeeper throws the stumps down. So the non-striker running towards the wicketkeeper's end throws his bat at the wicket and successfully hits the stumps and dislodges the bails. Just before the ball hits the stumps, there is an appeal. And remember that we learned yesterday that one appeal covers all modes of dismissal. So Abdullah, what is going to be our answer to this appeal and what mode of dismissal is in play? Or which modes of dismissal are in play?
So our answer to this appeal will be out. Which mode of dismissal? Obstructing the field. Why obstructing the field? We get guided by the law. It tells if either batter willfully tries to obstruct the field by either word, obstruct the fielding side by either word or action on appeal, batter to be given out obstructing the field. This batter willfully, knowing that he or she was not going to make the ground at the wicket keeper's end, willfully threw the bat and took down the bails. So after the bails now on the ground, the wicket is now technically down. So now with the ball going against the stumps, the batter would then be not out unless the ball uproot one of the stumps, which in this scenario is not the case. But why the batter giving out on appeal, obstructing the field? Because the batter, by his action, obstructed the fielding side, hence out obstructing the field. Over, Tom.
Awesome. Thanks, Dula. Diamond has got a comment. He says, thank you very much, Abdullah, for the explanation about treating health and safety incidences. For international and provincial level, it is pretty well covered in terms of the resources available on the day. But mostly at club and high school levels, I think that this is where we might need first aid training. So Diamond will personally upgrade his first aid training qualification because he's had a few incidences in other sporting codes that he coaches. So thanks for the explanation, Abdullah. And a word of thanks from Cece to Karen. She hopes that your paths will cross as she is a woman in sport of cricket, and there are a lot of opportunities for umpiring, coaching, playing, administrating cricket in women's cricket or as a woman in cricket. So all the best to you, CC, and all the other ladies who have joined us this evening. Those are all the questions and comments in the chat box. We shall now go to the meeting room to attend to the hands that are up. Number one in the class, as always, Ranveer. You've got your headset on and your smile is glowing. Please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Tom, Abdullah, for this opportunity. I have a question regarding the total runs to be scored. In a one-day match, the bowler was officially warned twice for bowling short pitch delivery above the shoulder height of the batsman on the first and fourth delivery of the over. The last ball of the over, he bowls another short pitch delivery, which the striker standing upright at the crease tries to hook the ball. The ball clearly misses the bat and strikes the top of the helmet of the batsman and goes up in the air towards the fine leg. The fielder at fine leg gathers the ball in full, close to the boundary, but within. He then throws the ball up in celebration for a catch. At this moment, the batsmen who were running have crossed for the second run. The bowler and umpire now signals no ball. Third bouncer for the over. The ball that was thrown up in the air now lands well outside the boundary line. By this time, the batsmen have crossed for the third run. Pretty long. I hope you got that.
At the instant of the throw, the celebration, Ranveer, how many times had they crossed?
Two were completed. Two runs were completed, Tom.
And the third run?
Third run was completed, and they crossed for the third run when the ball landed beyond the boundary.
Okay. At the instant of the throw, two were completed, but what about the crossing of the third run?
That's what they crossed when the ball actually landed beyond the boundary. For the third run, they have crossed when the ball actually landed beyond the boundary.
Okay, so at the instant of the throw, they had only completed two runs. They had not crossed for the third.
Yeah, Tom.
Okay. Abdullah, do you want to take us through that very bizarre scenario?
Yes, Tom. So you need to do the following. It was a no ball. Fielder obviously didn't hear the no ball, hence throwing the ball up in the air. So this will get seen as a willful act by the fielder. And how do you, and if a boundary comes from a willful act of the fielder, you need to handle it as follows. So you need to first judge at the instant of the throw, how many runs completed? Did they cross the run that they're busy with? Did they cross or not? My understanding, they did not cross. So then that third run will not count. I'm now referring to at the instant of the fielder throwing the ball up. Yeah, did they cross, yes or no? According to you, they didn't. So that third run will not count. So the runs will then be as follows. The no ball will count. That's one. The 2 runs will count. Because the ball didn't make contact with the bat, it cannot be a boundary 6. It will have to be a boundary 4. My understanding is, did it make contact with the bat or did it ricochet off the helmet?
No, it was only contact with the helmet, Tom. No
Yeah,
bat.
so that's why you can only hit the 6 over with if the ball made contact with the helmet.
Bat.
So that's why this is not a boundary 6, boundary 4. So no ball, 2 runs, boundary 4. That's 7 runs in total. And in terms of, you just need to judge where the batters were at the instant of the cross. That's going to be the sides that they're going to. Additionally, because this was the third bouncer of the over, there is a playing condition in place where you need to give the bowler first caution for bowling a third delivery above shoulder height in the over. Did I answer your question, Ranveer?
Yeah, Abdullah. Thank you for that.
Okay.
And if you can guide me with the signals also.
Yeah,
First,
just remember.
No ball.
Just remember, Abdullah, it was leg buys, not runs.
Yes, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
it will be 4 leg buys. So, Tom, you can take him through the signals.
Through the signal. Okay. So your first signal is no ball, and you signal that to the players on field before the ball is dead. As soon as the strikers end umpire recognizes that it is a third delivery above shoulder height. So the signal for that no ball is no ball tapping your head. Okay. And then when the ball is dead, then the bowlers and umpire will signal to the scorers, no ball, tap the head, and then he or she will signal leg by. Then he or she will signal boundary 4. And then he or she will signal 6 runs or 6 leg buys to
7.
the scorers. No, it is the 2 that were completed plus the boundary 4. The no ball extra is signaled here. Okay, so you don't add it to the leg buys because you are telling the scorers that there are 6 leg buys. Okay, and good umpiring practice. The last signal is always to repeat the fact that it was a no ball.
And just to add to that, free hit later.
Correct. If it is a one-day international with playing conditions of a free hit, you need to signal free hit. I normally signal free hit only to the batters. Abdullah, do you signal free hit to the scorers?
No, I don't. I signal it to the batters and to the bowler.
100%. Ranveer, you happy with those signals?
Yeah, Tom. Yeah, Abdullah. I have a couple of more queries, but then I'll just get back once everyone is done.
Sure. Next hand up is Aviwe Tieka. A viewer, please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours. A viewer, your microphone is unmuted, but I can't hear you saying anything. If you cannot be heard, a viewer, which is still the case, please type your question into the chat box and we'll take it from there. Ranveer, there are no other hands up. Do you want to go ahead and ask another question?
Yeah, Tom. So this is a practical question. I have just forwarded you a video now. So in a multi-day game, on day one, there was a water seepage on the pitch before the game got started, kicked off. There was a water seepage once the cover were off, and wicket was slightly wet, and ground was not handed over to the umpires till now. And what groundsman has did is they spiked the wicket. They spiked the wicket and they refilled it. I have just forwarded you a video. If you can play that, Tom, just for the clarity, what actually was done there. So wicket was actually ready in 2 hours. It took 1.5 hours, and we just took 30 minutes for the preparation for the players, and everything will be done in 30 minutes.
Yeah, Ranveer, I asked you yesterday to forward me videos before the lecture so that I
I'm
can
sorry, Tom. Actually, I was
prepare.
yeah, I was occupied, Tom. Sorry for that.
No problem. It is a ground weather and light question. Ground weather and light is not covered in Cricket South Africa's level 1 umpiring exam. So for purposes of time, we won't answer that question today. We will invite you to our level 2 course in May 2024, where we can go through ground weather and light in a lot of detail over the 6 lectures we have for level 2 and 6 lectures for level 3. Okay.
Surely, Tom, no problems. No worries.
So Aviwe, you've got your hand up again.
Yes, I think I'm audible now.
Yes, you are 100% audible. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Last week, maybe earlier, I think last week, I was watching a T20 match, Australia versus India. But I noticed something strange there on that match, and it comes up on my mind. If a bowler is bowling a legal ball to his strikers and but the umpire that is standing on bowler's hand accidentally block a ball, maybe a straight drive supposed to be 4 runs, but because he trying to save a bowler, maybe it's gonna hit him on the body part. He trying to block a ball. How is such a dead ball to be a dead ball? Because unfortunately, that happened on social time where there was few balls and Australia was chasing the match, and a ball is striking umpire accidentally from striker's hand. My question now, and the ball does not touch any object except to umpire. There was a potential of 4 runs. How about I don't know the laws for this incident. How about a ball now become a dead ball? It does not count, and the chasing team will get an opportunity once again to face that ball, because now maybe they lose 3 or 4 runs for the main reason of umpire blocking a ball. Once again, the question that ringing got on my mind, because I watch a lot of cricket, is under LBW Olo.
Okay, Abiwe, can we answer your first question and then come back to you for your second question?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Abdullah, I think as umpires, if you've umpired long enough, you've probably been hit by the ball while the ball is in play. It's something that we try and avoid all the time, but it does happen to most of us, especially in T20 cricket, where the bats are getting bigger every year and the batters are getting stronger every match and hitting the ball harder every game. So what happens if a ball is hit at the umpire, either umpire, and the ball would have been going for 4 runs were it not for the interception of the poor old umpire, who is now laying flat on the ground? Procedures for that as umpires, and any signals if required, please, Dula.
Yeah, importantly for umpires, and yes, if you stood for a many amount of games, you're bound to be hit once or twice, but we do need to try to stay out of the path of the ball. So umpires are part of the game, and if the ball do hit the umpire, it is just one of those unfortunate situations that if it hits the umpire and let's say it would have gone for 4 and it ricochets from the umpire's leg straight to a fielder, it's just one of those unlucky moments that that the batter has to endure, because the umpire is part of the game. Yeah, and just unlucky for the batter. So to answer your question, whether you must give a boundary for or not, unfortunately not. Seeing that umpires are part of the game, you will have just unlucky for the batter. Although there is 2 laws that you can apply. The first law is if there's a serious injury to the umpire, then the dead ball law comes into effect. The law tells you if the umpire gets hit and you feel there might be a serious injury to the umpire, you can call and signal dead ball immediately. The other point where dead ball can come in is when the ball lodges in the clothing of the umpire. That is when the ball also becomes dead. But in your scenario, umpires are part of the game. It is just unfortunate that, yes, the ball would have gone to the boundary, but it went against the umpire's body or leg, and it didn't go for 4. It's just unfortunate. Similarly, because the umpires are part of the game, if the ball gets hit in the air, let's say the ball gets hit straight back down the wicket, without on the full, it hits the umpire's, let's say, shoulder, and then ricochets without touching the ground straight to the middle fielder who catches the ball. Again, this is an unfortunate situation for the batter, because the umpires are part of the game. That batter would be given out caught. Unfortunate, but yeah, umpires are part of the game. Did I answer the question, Tom?
Are we happy?
Maybe.
Great. Next question you had, Abiwe?
Yes, the second question is based on LBW law and ball cracking and umpire's decision. How is powerful it is umpire decision, especially in international level decision. Let me quote two events for this umpire's call. If we still remember the match for Pakistan and South Africa, there was an latest wicket. Suppose Pakistan got there, but because of umpire's decision was not out, and with a wicket remain not out. Okay, that's why. But there is interesting one. South Africa versus Australia on the semi-final match, where there was a leg before wicket, and South Africa reviewed that wicket. Is it was a spin or piece? I don't remember very well. But umpires was called that wicket not out. And if you see a ball was gonna hit the wicket completely, and not like a margin of 30% or less or 50 was gonna hit the middle wicket. But because of the original decision was not out, and the decision remain not out. I don't want to lie, Abdul. I'm still not understanding very well this umpire's call original decision reviewed and become changed, whereas maybe a ball didn't bounce on the line of the wicket, pitch outside, but it's gonna hit the wicket. Now I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit confused on LBW based on umpire's decision.
Aviwe, thanks for those scenarios. And I think it's a question that a lot of cricket fans around the world ask. What is umpire's call, Abdullah? And on leg before wicket, which parts of the review can have an umpire's call and which parts cannot have an umpire's call? And why is there an umpire's call if the technology is there to show us where, by prediction, the ball would have gone on to hit the stumps or not after impact with the pad? Mr. DRS specialist, please take us through your definition and opinion on umpire's call.
Tom, I actually have a great video by Nasser Hussain. It's a short video. Can I send it to you via WhatsApp and then you put it in the meeting chat?
Sure, you can do that, Dula.
And then that explains, or NASA explains brilliantly how umpire's call works. If our viewer still needs more explanation after that, we can gladly elaborate. So while I send you the video, Tom, we can maybe go in the meantime to other hands.
Yes.
And then you can play the video for everyone's benefit as well.
Great, I will do. Thanks, Dula. Ranveer, your hand is up. Please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I have a query regarding the caught, Tom and Abdullah. A fair delivered ball by the bowler is first struck on the toe. It is full pitched on the toe and later later ground and then bat. Full pitched on the toe, later ball is grounded and then bat. Final contact is bat and catch is taken fairly by the wicket keeper. There is no chance of LBW as ball is missing stumps.